Excellent.
Okay, everybody knows we're recording, so now we got to keep it
Perfect.
clean. Our topic tonight is 50 ways to increase your car sales. And by the end of this hour, we'll see how many of the 50 we get to. But now here are the lethal sales guys, Larry Feldman and Brian Maxwell. Take it away, guys.
Sure. For anybody that missed our inaugural show, and boy, was it good to see everybody. This came about because I saw a couple of Brian's videos, and I thought this guy's right on point. And he saw a couple of mine and said, "Man, this guy thinks like me." And out of nowhere, Brian called me and said, "Man, I saw Lethal Weapon. I'll be Danny Glover, and you know you're going to be Mel Gibson." So I thought, hey, crazy white guy that makes everybody insane sounds just like me. And we joined in. For anybody that doesn't know, Brian is a top-notch trainer. He does recruiting also for sales. The guy's all there. He skips the nonsense. Everybody knows me, I hope. I train and recruit for any kind of position, sales, service, techs, anything you can imagine. I've recently joined up with John Ellis and Duran Cage and Brooke Furnace. We're promoting EV vehicles. Um, and you can also see the handsome smiling face of Peter Smith. Anybody that doesn't know Peter, the guy goes into stores and shows them the truth. You got Jeff Polo, who might be one of the nicest guys in the car business and has dollar for dollar, don't want to offend anybody, the best podcast on the car business because he serves his guests, him and Ian Nethercott. We got Thomas, one of the best connected guys and was one of the most generous guys in there. I think I covered everything. Oh, Zach McVicker. Um, Zach is on a parole release program, but whatever he's doing apparently seems to be fine because the constables haven't locked him up. I was getting too flowery, Zach. I hope that's okay. And we
Perfect.
appreciate the heck out of you all being there. We're going to throw some ideas out on how to increase sales. If anybody has any idea, please do not hesitate. And how about if I start, Brian, and then I'll let you jump in, talk a little
Yeah,
bit.
absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead, brother.
All right. I guess the first way to increase sales, and I got 50 of them, and Brian probably has 200 of them, is ask for video referrals. If you sell somebody and they are delighted, what's wrong with asking them to go on and say, "Man, did I love the way I was treated by Larry, by Zach, by Thomas, by Peter?" The world has gone video so strong that to not be on that train, man, you might as well not even show up because that's the direction we're going. And if people like you, right, it's the old thing, when's the best time to sell a car? After you sold one. When they're in love with you, when they're in love with the car, is the perfect time to say, "Hey, how about letting some other friends and family know?" Same way you would ask for referrals. Mr. Maxwell, I defer to you, sir.
No, I agree 100% with what you said. And really, I think a lot of times, and this is my humble opinion, a lot of times certain salespeople are so shocked or so fearful. They're shocked either that they got the deal in spite of, or they're fearful of losing it. Therefore, they think, man, even though the person has done the paperwork, the vehicle's been detailed, ready to go, shined and primed, they still fear for some reason that they may lose this person or turn them off. And like you said, the best time for them to actually get that information is while the person's feeling good. Obviously, they should have had a pleasant experience while they was with the individual. You hope so. And is more willing to do it then rather than 2 weeks later when you're shooting them an email or a text message. And with everyday life going on, if the person didn't make a good impact or a memorable impact, they won't even remember who the hell it is. It'll just be another salesperson asking something for nothing and won't get any type of response. So, yeah, I think it's definitely something that should be focused in on.
Focusing on what my brother Brian said about being fearful, I encourage everybody breathing on this planet to not be fearful. Let me cheer you up. In 100 years, we'll all be dead, and none of this will matter. So while you're here, take your swing, have some fun. Don't worry about a damn thing. All right, I'm going to throw another one on. Brian, you throw one on, and let's see if any of our wonderful guests have any thoughts or any ideas. Um, we are in an age, and everybody I hope knows that while I embrace technology, I run 3 damn businesses off my iPhone. I'm scared of tech. I'm scared that we'll lose our humanity and lose that one-to-one feel that really separates average salespeople from superstar salespeople. Don't laugh at me, I like handwritten notes, but for the holidays. Now, here's the problem. I sold a lot of cars. I was a victim of my own success. And I'm not going to lie to you. In December, the last thing I felt like doing was writing out, 1,000 cards. Thank you so much. So what I suggest to everybody is every time, go buy some holiday cards. Won't cost you a lot of dough. And every time you sell somebody a card, write a beautiful handwritten note, seal it up, put it in your drawer. Then when it comes time for the holidays, all you got to do is run back and throw 300 or 400 or 1,000 or whatever it is through the postage machine. It doesn't sound like much, but the most important and the only things we have are our time and our attitude. And I want to make sure we use them to maximum advantage. Mr. Maxwell, what do you have? I believe you're muted, Mr. Maxwell.
Oh, excuse me. We're talking about modern era type stuff, right? And staying in front of people. I'll give an example.
Brian, do me a favor. Be careful about muting yourself because I'm unmuted and I hate dead air. So just make sure you keep talking or else I will, and that could be ugly.
I know, I got you on that. As far as like present day, let's think about it. Another, you probably was going to get into it, but let's take video for an example, right? Because we talk about, staying in front of people and technology. People spend, what would you say, 70% of their time, available time on their phone, if not more than that, even while they were at work, right? And then you'd be amazed and shocked at how many people that are on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn and have no type of video footage, no photos or any kind up on it. And the reason being is, really think about this, and I share this with dealerships all the time. Most people prior to starting at a store really think about what they thought about folks that sell cars. You just said they were liars, they were thieves, you can't trust them. And then all of a sudden, due to whatever happened in their career or whatever happened in their life, they end up at this damn dealership, but they've got 10, 15, 20 years of negative programming, right? And so the dealership expects they're just going to be motivated to put themselves out there to their family members and friends that this is what I do. I've become one of them. And so really the key thing, I think, to get people to embrace technology and to be more willing to advertise is for them reassigning what it is they do. They're not car salespeople. They're not car salesmen or car saleswomen. They're product specialists or automotive sales professionals. And I think once that self-hypnotism takes place, when you take pride in what you do, you're a lot more willing to put it out there on the internet. You're a lot more willing to promote what it is you do and share it with other people. So I think that's a big deal.
Once again, we're on the same wavelength. I broke into the Open Door group, big group in Jersey, and I interviewed 30 people, and I had 21 in class today for Open Road. And I told them I'm going to send them out to mystery shop, where I send them out to say they're looking for a car for their sister who just had a baby, to show them how many people say, where the heck is your sister? What's your credit like? What's hers? Tell her to come back, blah, blah, blah. And everybody had a bad experience at a car dealership, either them, their family, or their friends. I said, listen, let's be fair. There's a lot of really creepy people in the car business, but in every other business too. So I only invite people, Brian. I bet you do the same thing, that I like, who are nice people. If they're cranky, okay. So wait a minute. So I said, who's nice in the room? Don't lie. They all raised their hand. I said, well, do you agree that there's some people that aren't nice? Yeah. Well, do you understand that it's your obligation? Because if you don't sell these people, maybe one of these creepy people sells them. That means you have a right to have them as a customer. They deserve to have you as their salesperson. That's got to be your damn mentality. Okay. We are no more honorable or less dishonorable than anybody else. Okay. If you go to work and you give your best, what Dr. King said it right, man. Whatever, quoting, whatever thy hand shall find, do it with all thy might. Ecclesiastes. And that is in the Bible, Brian. I double checked myself since your dad busted. Okay. when King was assassinated, he was in Memphis, and the sanitation workers were on strike. Remember the signs, I am a man. He said, if you're going to be a sanitation worker, be the best one you can. So as long as you give $1.10 worth of value, quote Bill Russell, for $1 worth of work, long as you give your best, what profession is dishonorable? And again, we're tarred with the same brush. Every damn person on this room, Thomas, Ian, they're all car guys. They're some of my best friends and some of the best people I know, including you, Thomas. I hope that was worth the $20 you gave me, and I hope the check doesn't bounce. All right, let me ask you a question. Unfortunately, I can talk for 3 days, and Brian's on a family outing. So does anybody have any thoughts? And then we'll jump back into our thing. on a great way to increase sales. We got a zillion years worth of experience here. And were you raising your hand, or was that the peace sign?
Yeah. Years ago, a buddy of mine from Cuba originally and I used to drive up and down streets in our neighborhood and put business cards in car windows, like where the molding is, and it says, "We got to buy from your car." We used to handwrite them on there. And it was funny because I saw Uber stealing the idea the other day. They had these it's like a leaflet that they put in all these cars. And we used to get all kinds of calls. We'd get a lot of hate calls, like, "What are you doing in my neighborhood?" It was kind of funny, but simple stuff works. Like the other thing that I used to do years ago, which I find really works, send people birthday cards, but not on their birthday. And they'll call you like, "What, are you like an idiot? Like, what are you doing?" You know, like randomly just send. I mean, I used to send postcards because A, they were cheaper, but B, you can't not open them because it's a freaking postcard. And I used to print them, and then I'd get the dealer to pick up the tab for the post office stuff. But it's really funny because at the end of the day, you know, it's really about being creative and being fun with people. I mean, I think the funny thing, I went to visit maybe 12 car dealers yesterday, just for shits and giggles, really, but it talked about bid calls. But there was really only one dealer who was seriously interested in actually trying to talk to them about buying a car. I didn't come in to look for one, but she's like, "Well, you're here, like, you might as well look at a car." And I'm like, "Yeah, there's the one dealer I visited today who actually was more interested in talking to me about selling me a car than get the hell out of here," kind of thing. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. Ian, let me tell a story about Ian. And for anybody that doesn't know, Ian and Jeff are two guys that I respect to death, and they've become two of my best friends. They're just the best-hearted people you ever met. So we go to, they invite me to one of the shows they're going to. I'm kind of their third wheel. And Ian grabs me and he says, "You know what I like about you?" Gosh, I hope it's more than one thing, Ian. He says, "We have a million guests, really heavy-duty guys, everybody in the industry. You're the only damn guy on our show that ever asked the other people on the show for business. Why wouldn't you?" Thomas, I'm going to bring back old memories for you and for Peter Smith. Remember the fist fights in the showroom and the manager? I'm not talking about the one you broadcast, Brian, with those two idiots, where the manager's pulling two guys apart. He says, "What is it?" "Hey, I'm telling him he stole my deal." What happened?" "He sold my neighbor a car." "Well, does your neighbor know you're in the business?" "That's not important." "No, that's the only thing that's important."
Exactly.
You got to be your own golden arches. You got to let Thomas, you don't know this about me. I'm the world's worst guy on the road. I got the worst sense of direction. That's why I'm always making illegal U-turns and driving on the wrong side of the road. But when I'm hungry, it ain't no problem, because no matter what state I'm in, there's these big golden arches over the trees. I know what exit to get off of. We got to be our own golden arches.
Brian,
when I got into this, hold on one second. Let me throw one point out you'll like. When I got into the business, because I'm so old-fashioned, I always beat up people to carry business cards. And then I realized, how dumb am I? A 20-year-old not only isn't going to carry it, his friends don't want it. So I kind of dialed into what you and Ian were saying and said, take a picture of your business card with your iPhone. "Hey, man, let me give you my info." Now you have their phone. That's why I just wanted to throw that out.
I mean, really, the generation has changed so much that I've had salespeople, or have salespeople, that changed up one word in a sentence as opposed to even saying, "Hey, let me get your number so I can call you." Okay. Just simply telling the customer, as crazy as it sounds, "Hey, let me get your contact number so I can text you information." The generation and society in itself has transitioned so much that people don't even pay attention that in order for you to text them, you need the phone number that you can actually call them with too. And so it's little things that I think would help salespeople more so increase referrals, which can increase sales. Like it's like when your mother, you'd say, it's not what you say, but how you say it. And sales is psychological. So tonality.
Can I pipe in here? Can I pipe in here, Brian?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, brother.
I had a long chat with a guy this morning who's a lead generator. And he's marketing, and he wants to talk about marketing and everything else. And yesterday there was a post, and Peter reposted it, from Jason Harris, and talked about dealers who count leads. And look at all the leads I got. And him and I, as I was driving into my, of this little tiny lot I work at way out in the sticks, and I was talking about the fact that, forget the leads, get to know your customer, talk to your people, build relationships. Then you can do all of these things. But the fact is if we deal with everybody as a as a, how would I put it, a not a nameless faceless thing, but it's just a number, you're going to lose. And we've been very good at dealing with numbers the last 3 years.
Well,
I
it's
agree.
the bigger question, Jeff, and it's funny. I was talking to someone about this today. Is okay. So let's just say you're getting 100 leads a month, right? How are you handling those leads? But more importantly, you're chasing those people that don't remember who the hell you are anyway, because whether they got it through marketing or through your website or whatever, you need to talk to them when they're actually doing something that actually involves your dealership versus hoping to chase them later. I mean, I was talking to a dealership in LA, Toyota store. They chase 1,700 leads a month. And I'm sitting there going,
listen.
So when do you give up on that one?
By the way, Paul Meyer has joined us, one of the sharpest guys with fixed ops you'll ever meet. Paul, thank you so kindly. And Paul, if you're driving by a dealership and you see any personnel, run them over. I need some more recruiting business. I like to be proactive with this stuff.
I'm actually on the way to dinner, so I'm only on for a short time, but I did want to catch part of what I could.
That's my
We're
foodie
talking
brother.
about 50 ways to increase sales. Since you're going to be on for a short time, do you have a thought-provoking or interesting idea and how to promote sales? Because we would love to hear.
It's easy. Build the relationship. You build the relationship, they will make excuses for when you drop the ball. They will come to you for everything they need when they need it, because you will be their car guy or their car gal. People will get on a plane regularly and fly from California, Nebraska, and all over the place to come buy shit from us they don't need. Imagine how much they would buy from you for the stuff they do need. They do need cars to get back and forth to work. They need to service the cars. Cars are on the road now 12.2 years, the longest ever in history. And you mean to tell me we can't blow up the service departments? And then to add insult to injury, I'm in a thread now where people are complaining about techs don't want to sell tires because there's no money in it. You know what there's no money in? The customer that leaves the first inspection, the tire sale, and goes to the aftermarket, meets a sharp guy or gal, buys the tires from them, the alignment, which is 100% profit, by the way, the suspension work, the brake work, the not much exhaust anymore because everything's stainless, the scheduled maintenance, the repairs, all of it. And
labor, baby.
They don't come back.
No, wait a minute. Luckily, you haven't eaten yet because I'm going to make you nauseous. Okay. I'm all over the country, and occasionally these two crazy guys from Canada invite me up to Canada with John Kostakis. How many times do we walk into a dealership and ask the salespeople, when was the last time you were in service in the morning? Well, why would I go in service? Listen, with the tire business, it's real simple. Every dealer on earth, everyone will cry to you that they're losing service business. Well, they're losing service business because tire business, then they lose the rest of the business, then they lose the next car sale deal. But if you go to them about tires, they go, it's a pain in the ass. A lot of things are a pain in the ass, but it's what leads you to. All right, we got Thomas on. Can I just tell a quick Thomas story?
Go ahead.
Why not? There's a guy that's not on named Paul Brobson. And I met Brobson when I was with Ian and Jeff at NADA. In about 30 seconds, we were best friends. And he went to the unconference and he says, you should come out. I'll introduce you to everybody. Sure. I go out and meet Thomas, who is as charming and likable as a guy you'll ever meet. Completely mentally unstable, which is why we get along, but completely likable. I wind up on one of the last panels sitting in between, and tell him if I'm lying, Thomas, with Jonathan Dawson, who's a brilliant trainer in his own right, and Patrick Abad, who's done miracles with Beaver Toyota. Yep. Both Christian. I'm Jewish. I start quoting Jesus, and now they're quoting me, quoting Jesus. Thomas grabs me and says, you are the craziest SOB I ever met, but I like the energy. He recommended me to a dealer in South Carolina. I kicked ass. They went back to Thomas and said, God, do I love this guy you sent me. And now Thomas is running around getting me more business. He looks like a hero. I'm grateful as hell. And this morning I'm listening to the radio driving out to Jersey for Open Road. and Stevie Wonder was on. I'm a musician. How do you go wrong with Stevie Wonder, Living for the City? But after the next song, I says, you know what? It's Clubhouse. Let's listen. I shut off the damn radio, as I don't know, God must have his hand on me. And Thomas is being told by Positive Joe Leonard, how do I get a hold of this Larry Feldman guy? If I don't go to meet Paul Brobson, and I had to fly in one day, fly out the next to go to Indiana. If you don't put yourself out there, nothing risked, nothing gained. You got to be willing to meet people. You got to be willing to smile on them. You got to be outgoing. Thomas, tell us some kind of good thing. You've been doing this 4 million years. Jeff, you think you're old? Thomas's social security number is 11. This guy's been around. He was with Henry Ford. He said, nah, the color's fine. Black is fine for a Model T.
Hey, no,
tell us the way to sell more cars, Thomas.
We got to mix in the white and the gray cars too. But man, I started laughing. I lost my train of thought. But
excuse me. According to Brian Maxwell, it's not a train; it's a caboose. It's one engine. He said it, not me. I would never insult anybody on my own show.
Well, I'm while he's thinking about. Did it come back to you, Thomas?
No, hell no. I forgot what the hell I was going to say.
Well, I'll say something. You know, to kind of help make this a little bit different, where for people that do chime in and listen, because you know I've been on several podcasts and everybody talks about what they should do, but what about the actual word tracks and steps? So my thing, like we talk about service, you know, I think that teaching a salesperson that take $20, maybe 30, maybe 40, depending on what, you know, a box of donuts may cost, maybe once a week, maybe you do it twice a week, maybe they save it and they do it on Friday or Saturday, whatever their busiest service days are, and learning how to go over there and engage this person and asking them a simple question. Hey, what type of work you getting done on your car? Oh, well, I'm getting this. Oh, really? Okay. Well, what type of vehicle you driving? This, that, and the other. Oh, okay. And they're doing that. That might take a little bit. Let me ask you a question. I know you're just waiting on your vehicle to be done, but we can have a little fun in the meantime. Let's do this. I'll show you the newest, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? We can play around a little bit, and then when your car is ready, they'll call you. Or whatever word track a person wants to use. But, you know, what are some of the things that you guys would actually say that somebody that might hear this today or might hear it later, or for any of the guys on that might take back and share with their podcast? Because I was just throwing something out.
Brian, let me give you mine. As usual, I'm a little mentally unstable, but boy, did it work for me. I own my service department. I got so many deals. I would go back and say,
I got to go in. Sorry. If this is
done?
recording, do me a favor. Yeah, I got to go in. Do me a favor. Send me a link to the show afterwards, the recorded. All right.
Brian's actually selling the DVDs. We're trying to make it a profit motive. So we'll give you a discount.
We're gonna put the replay up, Paul. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Look for it on LinkedIn.
What I used to say was, listen, it may seem like it's taken a long time, but our guys want to get it done perfectly. So you don't have to come back. We like to do it right the first time. While you're here, would anybody like to take a ride? We've got unbelievable deals. Heck, you may ride out of here with a car at a better payment that's newer. That's all. Well, how complicated is that? We'll always run to the problem. And the problem in service is your wait. Nobody wants to wait. We're in an immediate society.
Right. Might as well do something.
We'll get you the replay, my brother. Thank you so much for jumping in.
Yeah, might as well make the best use of that time. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, nothing, you know, information hasn't hurt anybody. So let's go and just have some fun. You know, maybe you take a little bit of information with you when you go. That way, at least in the future, when you're ready, you have everything you need, you might need. And when is the future? 5 seconds from now, 30 seconds from now, a minute from now. But it's just how to use certain words. I always, like I think when salesperson greet a customer with the whole welcome to, you know, my name is and you are and yada yada. When they say, well, listen, let's do that. No, which one of our viewers wants some information on? And of course, there's a lot more before that. But once they say, well, let's do this, follow me inside. I'm just going to ask you a few quick questions, and then I'll get you all the information on whatever you feel works best. At least that way in the future, when you're ready, you got everything that you might need. And just that simple in the future, whenever you're ready, has helped salespeople defuse, or should I say, lower and lessen a customer's defensive wall. And it almost discombobulates them because they're so used to everybody being so now, today. But when you tell somebody, hey, listen, that way in the future, you have everything you need. That way, when you're ready, blah, blah, blah. And when is the future? Like I say, 5 seconds from now, 30 seconds from now. So what type of other things would y'all, you know, share?
But wait a minute, Brian. Let's be fair now. I had to be charming and tell jokes. You're 6'5", 260. When you said get in the car, they got in the damn car.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems with that.
Selling
Okay,
cars,
guys.
selling cars
Guys.
is like dating. That's what I always say. You know, you
Here-
don't walk right up to someone in a bar and say, "Hey, you want to go home?" That's not the best opening line.
Yeah,
Then
no, that'll get you locked up.
exactly. And then someone mentioned about the business card. I always wrote on the back, "I want to buy your car," on the back of the
Oh.
business card.
Yeah, that's a good one. And oh, go ahead, Thomas. I apologize.
No, I can remember selling Pontiacs, and then we were closed on Sundays, and I used to grab a beach chair and a boom box and go sit out there and hand out business cards and brochures. And salespeople started to find out about it, and they would go out in the inventory and put their business cards in the windows like he was talking about. And I go out there and pluck all their business cards out.
Peter, are you paying attention to this? Never, ever ask Thomas for advice on where to go on vacation with a beach chair or how to pick up a woman in a bar. It's just not going to work out.
So basically, let me just chime in for 1 second, and I'll let you guys get back to the 50 ways to lead your customer. One of the things that has been repeatedly said over the last 6 months is that we're moving back to a relationship sale from a transactional sale. Last 30 months prior to that, it was transactional. You got a car? Great, I'm buying it. How much? 10,000 over? Sure, no problem. It's better than paying 15 down the street. Yeah, you got my business. No thoughts, no cares. I'm there. Now we're back to the transactional sale because we have days in supply are now exceeding 120 days on average for every manufacturer. So we're now going to push up against discounting. We're going to rebates, interest rates are going to start getting lowered again. And hold on, what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to sell again. So in recognizing that, we have to build the relationships. Now, where's your very first relationship in the dealership should be? The service department. The service department is your biggest relationship. You are their biggest customer, and they are the key to success for you and your clients. Why? You want the big jobs. You want them to get the big jobs. Well, you know what? We're going to recondition the car that came in that's 12.2 years old, and we're going to recondition it, and we're going to get more money wholesale for it, and we're going to you're not going to get your money taken away from you. So we want you to refer it to us so we can save that customer, because most dealerships work at 100% cost to the internal. So we want to give them all their business. We want to work with them. We want to show that they're the best in the industry. As such, we want them to never fear referring a client to us. So that's our first stop. We got to work with our service department to tear down that wall.
And let me tell you guys on this call too, real quick, Larry. I had the pleasure of I've had several conversations with Peter since Larry connected us. And you talk about somebody that doesn't just talk it, but has like the data to back it up. So I highly recommend, if there's any stat that you may be curious about that involves selling or training or coaching, 9 times out of 10, Peter knows it or knows how to find it for you. And it's been extremely beneficial for me. So
do you know why, Brian? Because he's a former hockey player. In the sports in the United States, if you hurt your finger, you're out for 7 weeks. Hockey players, their head gets ripped off their shoulder. They glue it on backwards and they put them back in the game for the next shift. Here, I'm gonna respectfully not disagree, but let's say it's a tie. Because to me, the best relationship you have are all the people in your life that know you, like you, and trust you, and hate car salespeople, but don't hate you. And when you combine that, now there's states in the United States, insanely enough, that don't allow you to write a referral or a bird dog, like Ohio and Virginia, where I've worked. But you tell me one person you've ever met in your life that doesn't want $100 or $150 or $200. Rich people drive their Bentleys across town to save 3 cents on a gallon or liter of gas.
Now I'm
So
gonna
I
chime
think,
in on this one. I'm gonna
yeah,
chime
go
in on
ahead.
this one because here's just an opposite way to look at it. Many times, you know, we would like to say ideally those family members and friends should be, but really think about this: how many of them are embarrassed and really don't want you to know if their credit is bad? Don't really want their close friend or family member to know how much money they really make. Because a lot of people out there faking it till they make it. But when you come into that store and you got to show real check stubs, and there's a probability that you may not get approved for whatever reason. Because I mean, we got to act like it. I mean, there's a small percentage of just great credit for people with great credit. The vast majority have moderate to poor credit. So now you got the chance of that family member or that friend knowing that your credit is bad, knowing how much or how little money you make. And I think that that's what makes makes it more of a challenge in a lot of situations for people to get those family members and friends. Like I said, ideally, but think about those of you. I mean, you know, even myself, I have to admit, you know, I haven't done very much business with people that I know personally when it comes to certain amounts of money. I don't want them to know how much money I may have. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I'd rather this perfect stranger know because I could pay them and it stays over there. So what do you think about that as being something that really stops that huge referral flow from family members and friends? Like I
I
said, just an observation.
well, you asked, I'll answer. I went to work at a dealership that used to sign recourse on deals. In other words, they would co-sign it as long as they could make a fortune. So managers would quit manager jobs and work there as salespeople because they would come home with more gross every month. I whooped everybody's butt the first full month I worked there. How did I do it? I let everybody on the planet know where I was. I walked up and down the street and hit the deli and the Wawa and every other place. Now you have to be sensitive with people. You have to maybe pull them aside and say, listen, by the way, I'm working at so-and-so, man, it's a great place. Doesn't matter if your credit's terrible, if it's fabulous, they treat you right. And you know, if I got my hands on the controls, I'm going to go there. Because understand this one thing, you're not wrong. But if you go someplace, you may not be embarrassed in front of Brian Maxwell, but you're still going to be embarrassed in front of these people. And some of these people are like piranha when they see another little fish in the ocean and they'll rip them to limb to limb. So you're right. You have to be somewhat tactful, but I still think the best way to get busy, get rich, control your schedule is prospecting.
I agree.
You want to be in service every day, but man, again, I only told the story with Thomas. I met the guy. We were best friends in one day. He referred me to a big job. He referred me to another guy that's getting me jobs. What would have happened if I didn't shake his hand? What would have happened if I didn't tell him a joke? I think it's all about the people you know. Listen, I wasn't born. I'm not brothers and sister with Rhonda or Peter Smith. I reached out to Ian and Jeff, two of the nicest guys on earth. I got on their show. That's how I met Peter. That's how I met Tim Hayden. I saw your video and commented, man, you're terrific. You came back to me and said, you sound just like me. So that's prospecting. Letting other people, why the hell are we on this show together?
That's it,
Because we want to
right?
let the whole world know that here we are, we're together, and then we got lucky and a lot of our terrific friends joined in. Hey,
Right,
you
yeah.
know who we haven't called on? And he's sharp as a tack if he hasn't jumped off sideways. We got two guys on here. We got Zach McVicker, okay, who's a young cat with all the technical stuff that goes over my head. It's in his bloodstream. And we got Harry Wilner, my right-hand man on, who's been around a leasing company for over 30 years, every in and out and prospecting you can imagine. Zach, tell us a way to increase sales.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Larry. I'm just taking it all in. It's my first time I get to see the energy, right? And no, I think more than anything, honestly, if you want to increase sales, I think first you have to understand the struggles of our people. When I say the struggles of our people, you know, the majority of us on this call here, you know, we're wired in a way where we can accept criticism. You know, I mean, we want criticism. We want you to tell us what's going on, and so we can fix it. And the problem is, I think the majority of people today, especially the newer workforce, and we're seeing a lot more even bleed over to the older workforce, is people care so much about what they look like, right? What people are thinking about them in essence. And the problem is people don't know how to build relationships, in my opinion. And so
Zach, my brother, I'm only interrupting you to quote Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. He was the Tony Robbins back then. He wrote a book called The Power of Positive Thinking, and he has a line I use in every class. Most people would rather be ruined by praise than saved by criticism. And you're 100% right. Look at the insanity that goes on with people. I don't want to sound overly political. How can an Ocasio-Cortez keep getting elected when she chased 25,000 jobs out? I'll tell you how. She's cute and she does these stupid videos and a bunch of stupid people go, she's cute. I think I'll vote for her. Okay. We're going to be dead one day. While we're alive, we need to turn the volume up. We should live each day like we're dying because we are dying. That means you have a finite amount of time to make money, to have fun, to leave some kind of mark on the world. You're not wrong, but Zach was out of town and he missed my class. You talk to those people. I beat him to death and said, if you're nervous on the interview, you're going to be real nervous because I'm going to punch you in the mouth. There's nothing to be afraid of. So you're right. But that's what guys like Brian Mitchell teach. Thomas goes into these dealerships and puts his arms around the dealers and said, listen, this is the information we have to. Ian and Jeff, if you've never been on their show, it's called the Auto Hub Show every Monday at 11 o'clock. They get the best guys in the business, and I mean the best, to sit and talk and discuss. But you're 100% right. So you told us what the fear is. So your thing is they need to get over their fear and their self-consciousness to sell more cars. Is that correct?
I think it's bigger than that. I think because not only is it's not even a fear, it's something they don't know they don't have, in my opinion, because again, they're not able to receive and understand things, in my opinion. And the other side of it is the managers don't know how to teach it. And so when we want to sell more cars, then unfortunately, I think we got to focus, like, because Larry, you've got an ability that is rare, right? It's not the majority, it's the minority. And so in today's world,
hold on, the audio's having a problem. Say that part about me having a gift there again. Listen. Our buddy Peter Smith, who I love to death, put a chat comment and he said, "Want to increase sales? Onboard people properly." Yep. Peter, we want them to onboard people as sloppily as possible, fire them, and call me up so I can make more money bringing them in. I'm just saying.
It's not about you, Larry.
I love it. No, I think it's
at least I'm not fearful. At least I don't care what other people think. God bless America. Go ahead, Zach. So in a nutshell, all kidding aside, you're sharp as a tack. You're tied in with every bit of tech. Give me 2 lines, not 20. 2 lines on a good way to increase sales. You certainly talk to people. 2 lines.
We got to teach better questions, and we have got to teach better listening and understanding skill sets and abilities. And if we're not listening, then we're not growing.
And Larry, I want to hear Zach elaborate just real quick, because he was going somewhere as far as with the way people are wired, because I agree with him wholeheartedly, like everything we're talking about. And that's what I was getting into earlier. With those of us that are on this call, we all would say, right on, yeah, we relate and we agree to that. But it's that individual who may not have been exposed to certain pieces of information, or, through whatever things have happened in their life, just need to be rewired, but really don't even know how to do that. How it comes through what you read, what you watch, what you listen to, who you surround yourself with. And so I just wanted to hear him just elaborate, on that just for a minute, just real quick, because I felt he was going somewhere.
Go ahead,
you don't mind, Zach.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if Ian keeps interrupting you. What can I do?
Oh, good. You said he's a nice guy, so I'm going to believe you. So it's okay. It's okay, Ian.
No, it's I would say that part of the challenge is, and this is a challenge I think from a general manager on down, onboarding is important. But I think that the challenge is basically you got to lead by example. You got to show them how to do it. And I think part of the challenge, and I'm not trying to beat up younger generations, but I was in a post office today. And the lady in the post office had to mail out some business cards to big calls reps. This lady in the post office, I would say she's in her late 60s. And she was managing 2 younger employees. And she doesn't usually work in that location. But man, was she detail-oriented. She got the packages done right. She was selling me a credit card. She was trying to sell me their direct mail solution. She was trying to sell me some stamps. Did I need some stamps while I was there? And I'm sitting there, I'm going, this is the person should be training these people. Because these other people are just, they're going through the motions, right? And I noticed that when I went in these car dealers yesterday. It was like most of the people, they're like, oh, are you here for service? That was their first question. Why don't you ask me if you can help me? Like basic communication skills are eluding them. And the managers aren't much better. The managers are just older versions of that person.
And piling into what Zach said, and Brian seconded about how important listening is, I asked my infamous question that I ask in every class. What do you say to the guy when you walk out to him on a Saturday, holds up his hand and says, don't even start with your sales pitch. I only have 10 minutes. I got to watch my son play ball. You know the drill. 20 guys stay. Oh, come back in 10 minutes. Go. The answer is, what does your son play? If we're not listening, doesn't matter what you say. It's like saying, what time is it? It's yellow. Go ahead, Zach. Ian, that was awesome. Zach, elaborate on what Brian asked you to elaborate on.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's so the other biggest problem is again, we keep saying we know what needs to be fixed. We know we need to train better. We know we need to onboard better. But I think it's so much deeper than that, meaning managers think that they can get people to do things because they say that this is what you need to do. And so the problem is, if we want to sell more cars, then we've got to build better leaders. More than anything, hands down.
But that's great. But how do you do that? So, I mean, and I've been talking about this for a while, but I don't know if you're familiar with the guy from Extreme Ownership. But anyway, he happens to be an ex-Navy SEAL commander, and he happens to also run a book. And he says, people ask me all the time, they say, oh yeah, you're the commander, so those really mellow Navy SEALs just do what you ask. Like, they're really mellow guys. You just sit there on your throne as the commander and say, okay, go do this. That's part of the challenge. Is it's great to say, listen, let's build better leaders, but how do we do that? And he says it very well. You can look him up on YouTube. Jocko, I think his name is. He says, listen, you've got to include them in the conversation, but more importantly, you've got to make them confident by showing them how to do it, but more importantly, including it. Let them make mistakes. The challenge with most managers, and I remember a manager I worked with years ago, and he got this job as a manager at a car dealership. Jeff knows him. The first thing he did is start telling the lot kids to wash his car.
Sure.
Like, that was his first move. Like, yeah, now I can direct the operation. And I was over at a buddy of mine's dealership over here near my house. And it happens to be a Honda store. And a buddy of mine that Jeff Polo would know, Doug, was there. And he's sitting at a desk in the showroom. The salesmen are doing nothing. And he's looking at spreadsheets. So I walked over to him and I said, hey, how's the spreadsheets going, Doug? He goes, oh, it's looking better. I said, what do you mean it's looking better? He goes, all these cars that were ordered are now coming in. I said, yeah, what about the ones in front of you, man? He says, what do you mean? I'm like, so you got a bunch that maybe are sold when they show up, but what about the ones in the showroom? What about the customer over there that no one's talked to, who's walking around? Like, what are you doing? It was hilarious to me. And Doug is not a dumb guy, but he probably should have maybe gotten involved with the people in the showroom, or the managers at the desk weren't doing anything. Like, it was
Ian, the analogy is a dog. If you have a dog and you point, your dog never looks in the direction you're pointing, he looks at your finger. And when we get misdirected and we don't realize what our focus should be or could be, we're dead. I want to jump to Harry, but Zach, did you have a last point, man? Because we're digging what you're saying.
Yeah, no, just the biggest things I'll end on is the questions that we can get. And as far as how you teach it, when you say teach it by example, we got to stop focusing on the offensive in essence, where we're go. And what we have to focus more on is the foundational pieces. And so meaning it starts as a general manager, asking our sales managers, pulling them aside, by the way, what do you need to work on? What is the thing that you need to improve the most? What do you feel like that you can get so much better at, right? It's like, first we got to, the only way that we can improve anybody else is improving ourselves first. And so if you want to sell more cars, and how you build better leaders is we got to start asking these people that we consider leaders much better questions, much more consistently. Because that's what we're not doing.
I agree 100%. I actually just spoke on this last week on this early morning clubhouse thing I was in, which was the same thing, which is, when was the last time a general manager or managing partner / GM really took their GSM or their sales manager and had them do certain role plays to see how they're handling situations? What was the last thing that they may have read? What are they doing that's improving their skill set? Because what seems to happen is that when people hit the desk, their skills seem to digress rather than improve. And one of the things I always stress when the question is, Brian, should we bring you in? I say, who would you rather train your people? The person that's still selling at your store or working for you, or the person that sold their way out and to the point now is a peer doing business with you? Who would make your business more profitable? You should want 20 people that can sell their way out and go anywhere and make over 100 grand doing this. But most stores don't. They keep people at this level, and it's not because the people don't want it. It's that they don't have anybody that can teach it. So I agree with that.
By the way, before we jump to Harry, or Jeff, another thing that's urgent for every aspect of life, and particularly sales, is a sense of expediency. There has to be a sense of urgency. I got to get something done today. Jeff is running a lot now. He's been in the car business forever. Jeff, how stupid is it when you ask a salesman, did you call your customer? Oh, I will, boss. Yeah, right after he buys from somebody else. Harry, what do you have? What do you have that you think would help increase sales? Because we still got about 100 things here. Rhonda, we may have to make this part 2 next week.
Yeah.
I'm old fashioned. I still use a business card. I still talk to everybody I know gets a business card. If I'm at the gym, they get a slapping wet business card. Younger people don't understand the value of talking to people and being there. And if you're in a restaurant and the server, you hand her he or she a business card. It's just, it's the way to grow a business. And you talked
wait
about.
Wait a minute, Harry, let me piggyback on you. If you're in a restaurant or you're in a diner and the tip should be $4, I always tell salespeople, give her 6 or 7 and ain't going to break you, and give her some business cards. And she's probably going to say, gosh, I wish I could afford a car. No, you misunderstand. You're so good at what you do, you probably have a following. Well, thank you, I do. Give them the cards. Let me know they're coming in, and I'll run you over $100. Now you got, the more people you have working for you, the more people you have pushing your business and your aspects, the more cars you're going to sell. Go ahead, how you just triggered something in me. With
it's interesting. I owned a restaurant for a short period of time, a very famous place in Philadelphia. And I used to preach to my servers, listen, build up the ticket. You get 20% of that in a tip. They didn't understand. A lot of people don't understand that. Build a rapport with that client, that the person that's eating a dinner. No different in our business. I was always out hustling. My sales staff used to yell and scream at me at my leasing company. How can you deliver more cars than anybody else? You're stealing our leads. I go, wait a minute. We advertise, we do this, we do that. Did you ever see me take one of those ups? I never took an up. I wouldn't have had to handle a real up. I dealt with people I only knew. And I delivered more cars than anybody. And then I got into the fleet business at Fleetway, and we started leasing cars to rental car companies. It was just being in their face and talking to them, being people. The younger generation, and I'm probably the second oldest people on this group tonight. Rhonda, thank you for being there. Sorry.
All right, Mr.
I didn't have a cell phone to work with.
I will get you for this.
Yeah. I got a short suggestion, and everybody's going to love it because it's the truth. Every salesperson everywhere seems to think it's okay to blow out ups if they don't think it's worth it, or if they're in a hurry, or they have a hot date, because it's the owner's money. If we could convince people to have the mindset that the $350, $400, $450 that cost the owner on average to bring somebody in was coming out of their pocket, nobody'd ever get broomed. They'd sell more cars and they'd be more effective as salespeople. Brian, do you have another good one? Man, I know you've been storing them up all week.
No, I mean, I think as far as what I saw, as far as the next one, let me go to your actual list. What was the number 5 on your list?
Treat every customer as if they're costing you $350.
And, I'll piggyback on that. There's a book, and some of y'all may have seen it, and I do refer it every train is by an author named Og Mandino, and it's called A Better Way to Live, and it gives you 17 rules to live by. And it really is something that I applied in my life, and I do it now as much as I possibly can consciously. Sometimes I slip. And it is rule number 10, and that is treat everyone you meet, friend or foe, as if they would be dead at midnight. You know what I mean? And really, when you think about the concept of that, when you're having a conversation with somebody, if we knew that it was one of our last nights tonight, and you were on this podcast, and that's the last thing that you were going to do, how much more attentive would we be? How much more will we listen? How much more will we let that person take the floor?
Brian,
and imagine if we did that with our customer. If
I was going to die tonight, okay, I wouldn't be on a podcast with you, brother. It would be second thing is everybody on this panel, you just throw them a curve. Peter, Ian, tell me if I'm lying. When you said Og Mandino, we thought you were going to talk about his most famous book, which I'm proud to say was my biography. It's called The Greatest Salesman in the World. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that was a really good one too.
That was back when
that was a good sideways shot.
That was when you were with the Camels.
There we go. Close enough.
Anyways, so I'm just gonna jump in on one thing, and I've heard it about 8 times in this phone call or in this podcast. We got to lose the lingo. The lingo has to go. It is
Oh,
so
come on.
disrespectful.
No, none of this roaches and flakes. Come on, that's the best part of it.
think about the term up. I've heard it by almost every single person on the call, and no disrespect, guys, but what's an up? An up is when you have to get up off your ass, out of your chair, and go talk to the guy on the lot. So it is beyond disrespectful. Those are the people that come in to spend their money to pay your salary, because that's who pays it. No one else. It's a complete misconception if you think the dealer pays your salary. They don't. It's the customer, and they should be treated as one thing and one thing only: a guest. They're a guest in your house, and treat them that way, and you will then magnify your abilities as a person, and they'll want to deal with you because you're different. You're not going, oh shit, there's the guy on the lot. He's looking at that Camaro. 18 people looked at that Camaro. I don't want to go look at him because he's going to ask me the same thing, and he's going to say the same thing. It's too much, and it's got too much mileage. No, you know what? I don't want to get up. And that's the wrong mentality. It's the wrong mindset. That guy out there is the guy that's going to pay your next cell phone bill, your next cable bill, your next mortgage, your next this. He's going to buy you a new shirt. He's going to pay for your golf round. Think of it that way, and you will sell more cars. You will have a greater mindset because those are the people who pay you.
But Peter, I'm less concerned with the terminology and the actual treatment we give people. Because everybody in this call knows a dealer that talks about, I want to treat my customers fairly. My salespeople are family, and then they blow people out or cut their pay. I'm less concerned with what you call them, with how you treat them. How again, it's the old thing. It's not, they don't remember what you said or what you did. They remember how you made them feel. And if you can show a genuine concern, because you said gold, the manager and the owner don't pay you. They're the middle guys handling the money. Your customers feeding your family.
Yeah, and we got to understand that we're in business ourselves. We're just getting a business that is encapsulated for us and financed for us. That's it. We know what our margins are. We know everything. We know how to make the money. We can actually control our own destiny. All we have to do is go to work. Famous Joe Verdi line. It is
no. Famous Robert Pike line. Verdi stole it. I found that out when I was doing research for a dealer in Florida. And by the way, you're 110% right. Where else, Zach, I see this all the time. You know, you reviewed the class. I had a lot of young people. 3 or 4 stood up and said, I want to own my own business. I said, no, you want to be in this business because you're in partners with a billionaire with no debt service. They'll never ask you to pay the light bill or the floor plan. But it's truly understanding that they're your customers, that it's your time, that it's your ability to earn. And let me say something to you. Everybody in this room, I'm assuming, is married, has a girlfriend, lives there, whatever it is. You go home to somebody, and we all go home on a bad day, and they all say the same thing to us. What's wrong? Most of us say nothing. Well, how do they know something's wrong? There's no neon sign over your head, Zach or Brian's bad day. It's all over our face. Customers can see when you're not enthused, when you're not excited. Brian, how about the goldfish effect? When you send people out to mystery shop and 3 people look through the glass like they're a goldfish, you want to wait on or no? How about you? How disrespectful and demeaning is that? So I'm less concerned, and you're right, Peter, with how what they say about them than how they treat them, how hard they work, how much they care.
I wrote an article on a BMW dealership in the Southwest, and it was a picture taken by a contact of mine that of 8 salespeople sitting on the park bench and the picnic table, and they're not sitting at it, they're sitting on it, and they're looking out at the lot, and every single one of them's heads buried in their phones. Now, having said that, are they contacting customers? They could be. They could be chatting, they could be texting, they could be doing all kinds of things. They could be on the phone. That's not the problem. It's the perception that the customer who's driving in their S-Class and saying, you know what, I want that new i7 that's $170,000, and they see 5 guys sitting on top of a picnic bench or a picnic table, and they go, oh shit, if I open up my car door, I'm gonna get swarmed like a a set of ravaging bees. And no,
Peter, but prior to the iPhone, what I used to roll my eyes the most on, 4 or 5 guys in the showroom. What were they talking about? How slow business is. There's no business. This place sucks. And a car would pull and they'd say, you want to get him now? He's probably not a buyer. It's the most self-defeating, self-fulfilling prophecy you could have in any business. Prejudging the people. We should judge them one way. They're buyers. They're going to be a friend.
exactly. And,
Hey, we're
and
sneaking up
your
on-
goal
we're
is
sneaking up
lifetime
on-
ownership.
We're sneaking up on 8 o'clock. Does anybody have any brilliant comments? We're probably going to continue this next week because everybody's got more ideas, and I got about 40 more things on my list to go over. Does anybody have any parting thoughts or comments? And by the way, myself, Brian, Rhonda, we are so grateful that you took the time to communicate and help us. And
Thank you.
You're welcome anytime you want to come in.
And
Anytime.
Don
Anybody got any
Graff just
parting
showed
thoughts?
up. Nice
What's
job, Don.
I
Thank
think
So
you,
he's on
Rhonda.
Florida time.
Yeah.
Hey, leave Don alone. He had to drive the party girls home. Okay, don't be messing with my boy Don.
Hey, Larry, I think I'll end on this because I actually, these are the actual note cards or postcards I send out. I handwrite them. And so what I will leave is there's, you think about, we keep talking about generations, the biggest generation gap. There is things that we can learn on both sides. And so there's not just this way. It's not they should just do it that way. It's a fact, it all impactful. And if we're not trying to truly understand more, if we're traditional about the digital side, we're not trying to understand how a handwritten card is more impactful to somebody, which may not make sense to us as younger generation. If we're not trying to understand the other side more, then we are truly part of the problem.
Zach, you're so brilliant. You just quoted Stephen Covey's effective habits, because one of his things is seek to understand before you seek to be understood. If you can't empathize with people, we'll close it on a biblical quote. This one is in there, Brian. You got to take the plank out of your eye before you take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. So before we judge other people, we need to look in the mirror and say, the hell can I do better? All right, guys, ladies, everybody, we can't thank you enough for being on.
Thank you,
We're going to
everybody.
continue this next week.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much to everybody.
Thank you.
And if
Everybody be
I
safe.
didn't
Have
mess
a
it
great
up,
week.
we'll
You
have a
too.
recording out tomorrow. Thanks,
I'll be
guys.
Thank you
married
all.
next time I speak to y'all, so I'll talk to y'all later.
A new
Good luck, Brian.
perspective. Yeah.
Thanks, brother.